Motorcycle dealers across the U.S. are sitting on trikes that just won't move, no matter the incentives. Whether it's bad styling, bad conversions, or bloated prices, these machines are being quietly pushed out. Here are the 14 trike motorcycles that flopped hardest in 2025 and why buyers are walking away. Number 14. Can-Am Spyder F3T. At first glance, the Spyder F3T looks like a bold step forward, low-slung, angular, and aggressive. But for older American riders used to Harley cruisers and heavyweight touring machines, the styling alone is enough to walk away. It does not carry the familiar stance, the rumble, or the visual toughness that riders over 50 gravitate toward. Beneath the bodywork is a 1,335 cubic centimeter inline-3 engine. It produces 115 horsepower and 96 pound-feet of torque, more than enough for confident acceleration and high-speed stability. The trike weighs just under 1,100 pounds dry and uses a 6-speed semi-automatic transmission with reverse. Dual discs up front and a single rear disc handle braking, assisted by ABS and traction control. But power alone is not the issue. The problem is identity. The Spyder F3T tries to sit between touring luxury and sporty performance, but it never fully commits to either. It lacks the long-haul comfort of the RT models and misses the mark for riders who prefer a cruiser-style machine with deep American roots. At a starting price of over $24,000, this trike enters the same ballpark as used Tri Glide Ultras and Freewheelers, bikes with more brand loyalty and stronger resale value. Many older riders view the Spyder as too flashy, too lightweight, and too far removed from the heritage they trust. If the futuristic styling of the Spyder F3T keeps buyers away, the next bike failed for an entirely different reason. It simply weighs too much to enjoy. Number 13. Harley-Davidson Ultra Classic Trike Conversion. For decades, the Ultra Classic was the definitive American touring machine. Riders praised it for comfort, presence, and its unmistakable Harley style. But when it gets converted into a trike using an aftermarket kit, the magic quickly fades. While it may look impressive, the Ultra Classic Trike conversion suffers from a host of issues that are driving older riders away. The bike is powered by a Milwaukee 8107V twin engine, which delivers 1,753 cubic centimeters of displacement. It produces 114 horsepower and 121 pound-feet of torque solid numbers for long-distance rides. But once the trike conversion is installed, the handling characteristics change dramatically. What was once a confident highway tourer becomes clumsy and heavy, especially in low-speed situations or tight turns. Fully converted, the Ultra Classic Trike weighs in at over 1,300 pounds. Depending on the conversion kit and labor, the total cost often lands between $34,000 and $38,000. That kind of bulk may look cool, but it becomes a liability for older riders who want something easier to manage. The additional rear axle adds stress to the frame, changes the balance, and introduces stability issues that were never part of the factory design. Beyond weight and handling, the real issue is support. These trikes do not carry a factory warranty, and if you think weight and balance were deal breakers, this next trike proves that even high-end engineering can fall flat, especially when the conversion costs more than the bike itself. Number 12. Honda Goldwing Roadsmith Trike Conversion. It was supposed to be the ultimate touring trike. Honda engineering, three-wheel stability, and long-distance luxury. But in 2025, Roadsmith Goldwing conversions are turning into dealer dead weight. This setup is built on the Honda GL 1800 platform and runs a flat-6 engine with a displacement of 1,832 cubic centimeters. It produces 125 horsepower and 129 pound-feet of torque, mated to a 5-speed manual transmission with overdrive and reverse. Rear suspension is handled by an independent setup, tuned for smooth highway cruising. The problem? Once converted, the Goldwing trike tips the scales at nearly 1,250 pounds. Add in a wide rear axle and extended body panels, and maneuverability goes out the window. Riders report that parking lots feel like obstacle courses and that slow-speed control is noticeably worse than on factory trikes. Then there's the price tag. A clean base bike starts between $15,000 and $22,000. Add the Roadsmith kit, paint, labor, and extra accessories, and the total cost lands between $45,000 and $50,000. That's deep into Harley-Davidson Tri Glide territory without the brand loyalty, dealer support, or resale confidence. To make matters worse, these conversions carry no factory warranty from Honda. That means service, parts, and resale all fall on the shoulders of independent shops and uncertain buyers. It had the power, the comfort, and the reputation, but in the end, the Goldwing Roadsmith Trike just couldn't connect. Now, let's head overseas, where the next Trike looks like a supercar but rides like a headache. Still with us? Then you're the kind of rider we're here for. Subscribe now and never buy blind again. Number 11. Rewaco RF1 GT. Looking more like a concept vehicle than a touring trike, this machine grabs attention with its oversized wheels, turbocharged muscle, and European flair. It was engineered to challenge every American expectation of what a cruiser should be. Beneath the sculpted bodywork sits a 1,331 cubic centimeter inline-4 engine that is turbocharged for added performance. This motor delivers 170 horsepower and 110 pound-feet of torque, making it one of the most powerful trikes on this entire list. It uses a 7-speed automatic transmission with paddle shifters and weighs just over 1,150 pounds. Dual front disc brakes and a single rear disc handle stopping duties. But all that power comes with an equal measure of complication. The RF1 GT is a high-maintenance machine, requiring specialized parts and trained technicians to service properly, two things that are incredibly hard to find outside of Europe. The Trike also rides and handles more like a low-slung performance car than a motorcycle, making it difficult for traditional riders to feel connected to the road. Older riders in particular find the controls unintuitive, the ride quality too firm, and the cockpit design awkward. Even more concerning is the price. In the year 2025, the Rewaco RF1 GT starts at $35,000 and climbs quickly depending on optional accessories. That puts it in direct competition with factory-built Harley-Davidson and Indian Trikes, machines that offer dealer networks, parts availability, and resale value. The RF1 GT offers none of that. The next trike on this list proves that even Harley-Davidson can swing and miss when it comes to building three-wheelers that connect with riders. Number 10. Harley-Davidson Road Glide 3. Designed to bring touring dominance to the trike segment, this machine came loaded with attitude, shark nose fairing, aggressive stance, and factory-built confidence straight from Milwaukee. On paper, it had everything older Harley riders wanted, but in practice, the Road Glide 3 hasn't delivered the connection or comfort its core audience expected. Somewhere between concept and execution, something critical was lost, and now it's struggling to win over the very riders it was built for. Powering this trike is the Milwaukee 8 114V twin engine with a displacement of 1,868 cubic centimeters. It cranks out 121 horsepower and 121 pound-feet of torque, giving it the muscle needed to cruise for hours without breaking a sweat. On paper, that sounds like a dream for long-distance touring, but performance alone hasn't saved the Road Glide 3 from becoming a hard sell. The real problem starts with the weight. Tipping the scales at 1,286 pounds, this is one of the heaviest trikes Harley-Davidson has ever produced. That much bulk makes tight parking lots, low-speed turns, and daily commuting a real challenge, especially for older riders who want comfort, not fatigue. Then, there's the price tag. In the year 2025, the Road Glide 3 starts at $32,999. And yet, despite its premium placement, it lacks several features riders expect at that level. Basic touring necessities like an infotainment system are not included as standard, forcing riders to spend even more to get what should already come on a bike this expensive. The next trike on this list offers even more power, but it weighs more, costs more, and gives riders even fewer reasons to sign on the dotted line. Number 9. Indian Roadmaster Trike Conversion. It is one of Indian's most recognizable names in American touring. Known for its plush seating, big engine, and luxurious ride, the two-wheeled version has been a favorite among long-haul riders for years. But when dealerships began offering trike conversions of the Roadmaster, they turned a beloved machine into something many buyers now refuse to touch. Underneath the three-wheeled configuration is Indian's Thunderstroke engine, an 1,811 cubic centimeter V twin that produces 122 horsepower and 128 pound-feet of torque. That's more than enough torque to carry two riders, luggage, and highway dreams across the country. But the weight of the conversion, combined with the added complexity, makes it more of a burden than a benefit. Fully converted, the Roadmaster Trike can weigh over 1,350 pounds. That kind of heft may sound sturdy, but in practice it becomes cumbersome. Slow-speed handling suffers dramatically, and parking in tight spaces feels like an uphill battle. Literally, add in the challenge of low-speed balance, and the conversion starts to feel like a downgrade rather than an upgrade. What makes things worse is the price. A standard Roadmaster already starts at well over $30,000. When you add the cost of the conversion kit, professional installation, and post-sale modifications, the total can easily surpass $50,000. Dealers who took these in on trade are now trying everything to move them. But for most seasoned riders, the Roadmaster Trike conversion just doesn't add up. And that's why it continues to collect dust while newer, smarter options take its place on the open road. Number 8. Royal Enfield Bullet Trike Conversion. This bike has always been known as a simple, rugged motorcycle for riders who appreciate retro charm. But when it gets turned into a trike, the result is a machine that fails to meet the expectations of most American riders, especially those looking for comfort, power, and reliability on the highway. Dealers that took these conversions in are now stuck with them, as they continue to sit unsold in showrooms across the country. Powering this conversion is a single-cylinder, air-cooled engine with a displacement of 350 cubic centimeters. It produces a modest 20 horsepower and 18 pound-feet of torque. On a standard two-wheeled bike, those numbers might be acceptable for local commuting, but add a trike kit, increase the curb weight significantly, and the performance drops to painfully underwhelming. This machine simply does not have the muscle required for American highways, particularly when carrying a passenger or gear. At just under 400 pounds stock, the Bullet might seem light, but once converted, the added bulk quickly overwhelms the engine's limited output. Hills become a struggle, highway merging feels dangerous, and even basic overtaking becomes a challenge. Riders who expect highway comfort and long-distance capability are always disappointed. On top of that, the seating position and geometry feel off once the third wheel is installed, making the ride feel awkward at low speeds. Compounding the problem is the lack of reliable trike conversion kits built for the Bullet in the United States. Most kits are sourced from overseas with very limited technical support or parts availability. Fully converted, the total cost usually falls between $9,000 and $11,000. The next trike on this list may have started strong, but after its parent company vanished, so did its future. Number 7. Victory Cross Country Trike Conversion. When Victory Motorcycles was still in production, the Cross Country was considered one of its most promising touring machines. Big, bold, and powerful, it had all the DNA of a serious long-distance cruiser. But once Victory shut down in the year 2017, that promise faded, and the trike conversions that followed became some of the hardest machines to sell in today's market. The cross-country trike conversion uses a V-twin engine with a displacement of 1,731 cubic centimeters. It produces 104 horsepower and 110 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers suggest a capable touring platform, but the reality is far more complicated. Once the trike conversion is complete, the ride becomes stiff, balance suffers, and the handling feels unnatural, especially in corners or during slow-speed maneuvering. The most glaring issue, however, is support. Victory as a brand no longer exists. That means no new parts, no new bikes, and very limited dealership assistance. Most senior riders are not looking for a project. They want a dependable ride with manufacturer backing, and with the cross-country trike, none of that exists. Buyers know they are stepping into a machine that might be hard to repair, difficult to upgrade, and impossible to sell later on. Despite decent performance on paper, this trike is a dead end. Its resale value is poor, parts availability is worse, and riders are hesitant to spend real money on a bike from a discontinued company. In 2025, fully converted cross-country trikes often sit in showrooms priced between $16,000 and $20,000. Dealers still holding on to these Victory trikes are having a tough time moving them, no matter how polished or powerful they appear. And if the problem with this trike is brand identity, the next one suffers from something even more personal. It simply looks wrong. Number 6. Can-Am Spyder RT Limited. At first glance, the Spyder RT Limited looks like it belongs in a science fiction movie, but it failed to account for one very important thing. Most trike buyers in the United States are traditional, older riders who grew up on chrome, leather, and the deep rumble of a V-twin. Beneath the futuristic shell, the Spyder RT Limited is powered by an inline-3 engine with a displacement of 1,330 cubic centimeters. It produces 115 horsepower and 96 pound-feet of torque. The engine is paired with a 6-speed semi-automatic transmission that includes reverse. On paper, the numbers hold up well, and the powertrain delivers a smooth, consistent ride. But the engine's character lacks the personality and tone that Harley and Indian riders expect. Weighing in at 960 pounds, the Spyder is not exactly light, but its weight distribution and forward wheel layout give it a very different feel, one that many older riders find unfamiliar or even uncomfortable. The braking system includes dual front discs and a single rear disc, all equipped with ABS, which enhances safety but further separates the experience from traditional motorcycles. The handling is more like a snowmobile than a cruiser, which turns off the exact demographic this bike was meant to attract. In the year 2025, this model starts at just under $35,000, placing it directly against flagship offerings from traditional American brands. As of 2025, dealers are watching these Trikes pile up. The next Trike on the list goes in the opposite direction, too stripped down to justify its price. Number 5. Harley-Davidson Dyna Trike Conversion. For years, the Dyna was one of Harley-Davidson's most beloved platforms, a raw, stripped-down cruiser with a loyal following. But when dealerships began offering Dyna Trike conversions, hoping to appeal to aging riders seeking more stability, the results were disappointing. This Trike setup is powered by a Milwaukee 8 114V twin engine, delivering an engine size of 1,802 cubic centimeters. It produces 108 horsepower and 112 pound-feet of torque, more than enough for a traditional two-wheel Dyna. The engine is mated to a 6-speed manual transmission, and stops are handled by dual front discs and a single rear disc. But once you bolt on a third wheel and a full Trike kit, that power feels muted. The extra weight, often pushing the total above 1,150 pounds, adds stress to the frame, and the handling takes a serious hit. The real problem lies in the geometry. The Dyna was never engineered for 3 wheels. Once converted, the bike becomes unpredictable in corners, difficult to balance at low speeds, and far more tiring to ride over long distances. Unlike factory-built Trikes, there is no engineered suspension redesign to compensate for the altered weight distribution. There is also no factory-backed warranty. These conversions are performed by third-party shops, meaning parts, service, and long-term support are all question marks. Add to that the high cost, where a used Dyna might cost between $10,000 and $15,000. A full conversion can push the price over $30,000, and most buyers simply walk away. Dealerships are sitting on these Trikes, unable to move them. But if you think conversions are bad, the next Trike on this list takes extreme to a whole new level, and not in a good way. Number 4. Boss Hoss V8 Trike. When it comes to Trikes that push the limits of engineering, the Boss Hoss V8 Trike is in a category of its own. But instead of dominating the road, it has become one of the most impractical Trikes ever built, and one of the hardest to sell in American dealerships. At its core, this Trike uses a V8 engine with a displacement of 5,700 cubic centimeters. It produces over 400 horsepower and more than 450 pound-feet of torque, depending on the variant. The engine is paired with a 2-speed semi-automatic transmission with reverse. Those numbers are unheard of in the motorcycle world and should make for a thrilling ride. But in reality, the performance is too much for most riders to handle. The Boss Hoss tips the scales at over 1,300 pounds, making it one of the heaviest Trikes on the market. It features dual front disc brakes and a large single rear disc to bring all that mass to a stop. Combine that with rear-wheel drive, low ground clearance, and a stretched-out frame, and what you get is a machine that's nearly impossible to maneuver in tight spots or at low speeds. It handles like a car, rides like a boat, and corners like a dump truck. Maintenance is expensive and replacement parts are not easy to find. In the year 2025, a new Boss Hoss V8 Trike starts around $65,000, and even at that price, many of them sit unsold, collecting dust in premium showrooms. For most dealerships, the Boss Hoss is just too extreme, and if you thought too much power was a problem, the next Trike on this list has the opposite issue. It simply offers too little for the price. Number 3. Harley-Davidson Freewheeler. This bike seems like a solid entry in Harley-Davidson's Trike lineup. It's lighter, more minimal, and cheaper than its big brother, the Tri Glide Ultra, but take a closer look and it becomes clear why this model is stuck in dealerships across the country, especially in the year 2025 when buyers expect more value for their money. The Freewheeler runs on the Milwaukee 8 V-twin engine with a total displacement of 1,868 cubic centimeters. It produces 121 horsepower and 121 pound-feet of torque, which is more than enough to move this machine with confidence. But the powertrain is where the excitement ends. Weighing in at over 1,250 pounds, the Freewheeler is no lightweight. Yet, for a bike of its size and price, it lacks key features that touring riders demand. There's no front fairing, no infotainment system, and minimal storage. Riders are forced to spend extra on essential touring upgrades that should have been standard at this price point. The ride itself feels stripped down, and while some riders may appreciate the old-school simplicity, most buyers, especially senior riders, are looking for comfort, convenience, and modern features. The absence of wind protection makes long rides exhausting, and the basic seat design doesn't help either. And then there's the price. With a starting point of $29,999, the Freewheeler is far from budget-friendly. It's too expensive for entry-level buyers and too bare-bones for seasoned Harley riders. Dealerships are stuck in the middle, unable to market it as either premium or practical. And if you think that sounds like a tough sell, just wait until you see what the next Trike on this list tried to pass off as high-tech innovation. Number 2. Boom Trike Spyder. There's a certain kind of trike that looks impressive on paper. Big engine, aggressive stance, custom European styling, but completely misses the mark with American riders. That's exactly the case with the Boom Trike Spyder. Imported from Germany, this machine was built for visual impact and mechanical complexity, not for the kind of everyday riding most senior motorcyclists demand. Beneath the flashy fiberglass and wide-body design is an 1,131 cubic centimeter inline-4 engine, putting out 120 horsepower and 94 pound-feet of torque. While those numbers sound strong, they're paired with a curb weight of over 1,100 pounds and a layout that feels more like a go-kart than a motorcycle. The result? A machine that's too heavy for comfort, too odd for tradition, and too complicated for most dealerships to even maintain. The riding position is equally strange. Instead of a familiar V-twin rumble and cruiser-style cockpit, the fighter uses car-like controls, foot pedals, center-mounted gauges, and flat bars that feel more dragster than distance tourer. That disconnect has made it nearly impossible to sell to the older Harley-Davidson crowd who overwhelmingly prefer familiar controls and American styling. But the real deal breaker is the support, or lack of it. Parts are nearly impossible to find in the United States. Warranty service is limited and most mechanics won't touch them without special training or import knowledge. With a starting price above $30,000, that's simply too much risk for most buyers. Dealerships across America are now stuck with these overbuilt oddities, offering incentives and upgrades just to clear inventory. And while this one may be foreign and flashy, the final Trike on our list shows even Harley's most exclusive models aren't immune to failure. Number 1. Harley-Davidson CVO Tri Glide. Luxury, power, and exclusivity were the three pillars this Trike was built on. Under the tank, it carries the Milwaukee 8 117 engine, Harley's most powerful production V-twin, displacing 1,923 cubic centimeters. That motor delivers 125 horsepower and 126 pound-feet of torque, paired with a 6-speed manual transmission. The Trike weighs in at over 1,200 pounds and uses dual front disc brakes with a single rear disc, all ABS equipped. That sounds like the perfect setup for a highway-dominating touring machine. And yet, it's not the performance that's holding this bike back, it's the price. With a sticker starting at $54,900, the CVO Trike is nearly double the price of a base model freewheeler and significantly more than the Tri Glide Ultra. And for that extra money, you're getting some exclusive paint, a few comfort upgrades, and a limited badge, while the engine, frame, and major touring components remain nearly identical to lower-tier Trikes. That's a hard sell for older riders who've been around the block with Harley-Davidson. They know how to spot value, and the CVO model just doesn't add up. It's too expensive to justify. too flashy for riders who want subtle comfort, and too hard to move for dealerships trying to manage inventory in a softening market. Drop your thoughts below. Would you ride any of these, or are they all destined for scrap? And don't forget to like this video and subscribe for tomorrow's deep dive.